As I mentioned, the summit is being dedicated to Bob Caporale. He's a guy that I've known for almost 30 years. We started communicating back and forth in 1975. He was with Jarrow, Spellman Bowles consulting engineering firm. Back then, he moved on to other ones, Siska and Hennessy, and eventually ended up at Elevator World as their editor. And he learned how to be an editor under the tutelage of Bill Sturgeon, the founder of Elevator World. He retired in 2016. He and I had a lot of common interests, and as we went through and stumbled through our career, we gave each other support and encouragement as we went through. So with that, I'd like to introduce Bob Caporale Jr. Bob's son is the president of Sequent Learning, and he's going to speak on behalf of our dear friend, Bob. Robert, where'd you go? Oh, you're hiding.
Thank you. Good morning. So first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here on behalf of my dad. I'm going to try and keep it together. But he was a very special man, very special to me. And it really means a lot to me and my family to have this opportunity, not only for me to say a few words on his behalf, but also to have this summit dedicated to him, the very first one. I know there'd be nothing more that he would want and nothing more special to him. So thank you, Bob Shepard, and for the organizers of this summit. It really means a lot. So those of you who knew my dad know that he did pass just under a year ago. And it's interesting because in the program, you'll see my bio. And last night I met some people here, and they were trying to figure out what I did for a living. And some people got the impression that I was a motivational speaker of some type. I guess that's the bio. And you know, I do speak at conferences sometimes, so I used that bio in the program. But I don't want to oversell myself because I'm absolutely not a motivational speaker for a living. What I do, in fact, is I teach corporate workshops, facilitator, much like probably some of you in the room here. And I teach on the subjects of product management and marketing and so forth. So when Bob asked me to speak at the summit, I said, well, how am I going to make this interesting? I didn't necessarily want to come and deliver a eulogy, right? Nobody wants to kick off a summit like that. So I thought, well, maybe I can incorporate some of the things that I teach and talk about into my speech and kick off the summit that way. And I put together some slides like I normally would, and it just didn't feel right for some reason. It didn't feel right. Because what I really wanted to do is just come and kind of speak from my heart and just tell you what your industry has come to mean to me, a person who hasn't been in the industry, through my father and through his passing in many ways. And more importantly, to tell you what you meant to my dad, which is, I think, even more important. So my dad did pass, and what's interesting, a couple of years before his passing, his sister, Dell, passed as well. Similar circumstances, in fact. And he had another sister, my Aunt Steph, who's still alive and was very close to Dell. Dell was an artist, she was a teacher, she loved life. And when Aunt Dell passed, my Aunt Steph came to me, she was broken up, and she said, it's really amazing. She said, since Dell passed, I see rainbows everywhere. Everywhere I look, I see rainbows. I'm in my apartment, and I look on the wall, and there's a rainbow. And I go outside, in the yard, there's a rainbow. And that's kind of a rare event because she lives in the Bronx, so I guess that's something. But it was really interesting because she said, I know that Dell is with me. It's Dell, because I never saw these rainbows before. So I have another friend who just lost her grandmother recently. Grandmother was passionate about ladybugs. I don't know why. It's just what she loved. And my friend said that since Grandma passed, all I see is ladybugs everywhere. They're landing on me, they're flying around, they're swarming in my house. I go into the store, I see them on, monogrammed bags and apparel and everything else, and that's gotta be Grandma. Grandma's here. So I'm an engineer by trade, I'm a bit of a scientific mind, and so forgive me that I don't necessarily believe that rainbow is Aunt Dell or the ladybug is Grandma, although I don't begrudge anybody who does believe that. We all have different beliefs and different faiths, and it keeps us all going. But I tend to take a little bit of a different view on those scenarios, because I do believe that Aunt Dell is with my Aunt Steph, and I do believe that my friend's grandmother is with her, not necessarily in the form of rainbows and ladybugs, but in the form of the passion that those people had, that they passed down to their loved ones. And those are things that we took for granted, right? My aunt didn't see rainbows before, and now she does. And my other aunt, my friend didn't see ladybugs before, and now she does. We take those things for granted. The things that all of us are passionate about, we don't see it in each other sometimes until we're gone. And that's a bit of a shame in a way, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be also. I'm not sure. So when my dad passed, I didn't see rainbows and I didn't see ladybugs. I saw elevators. So thanks, Dad. All of a sudden, I saw elevators. And yeah, I've been in elevators my whole life, right? They take you up and down, but I took them for granted. And in many ways, I took his passion for granted, because this is a man, and those of you that knew him knows that he loved elevators. But I didn't necessarily see it. What's so cool about all of a sudden noticing elevators is that these are pretty amazing things that you guys are involved in. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting in front of 200 elevator people. I'm saying that because it's really an amazing feat of engineering when you think about it. I mean, you can go into a box, press a button, and it shoots you up 50 stories, 500 feet or more into the sky. That's pretty cool. So all of a sudden, I'm starting to see this. You know, when someone passes, what happens is you have this sometimes very unfortunate task of having to go through their stuff, right? Those of you who have been through that, it's really, really hard. And it was hard for me as well. But one of the reasons it's hard is something we don't ever talk about, because you never really know what you're going to find, right? You don't really know a person until you go through their personal things, and all of a sudden you start to see, what are they really about? And you're worried, what's going to be there? And I went through my dad's stuff, some of it. And what I found was elevators, and more elevators, and even more elevators. I mean, the man loved them. He wrote about them. He wrote journals about them, not just as the editor of Elevator World, which he did for 17 years, and I know many of you know him through that, but he wrote about them outside of that. He wrote about these conferences. He wrote stories about them. He wrote poems about them. He wrote songs about them. Some of you told me about those. He drew cartoons when he came to these conferences. I recognize some of you from them, in fact. He just loved this industry. It meant so much to him, and I didn't know it. I didn't know it. I found another video from him that was amazing, in fact. Some years ago, Lego came out with a Lego elevator kit. Has anybody seen this darn thing? I think Elevator World sold it for some period of time. And he bought that for my son when he was just born. My son didn't know what to do with it. We still have it. But what was amazing, I found some video footage that my dad had shot and put this Lego elevator kit together. And I don't know what he was doing it for. It may have been for a promotional thing, or it may have just been, I think it was, just for him. But he shot a video of this Lego elevator. And I don't know if any of you have this kit or have seen it, but I mean, it's not that, fascinating to watch. It's, you press a button and it goes up, and you press a button and it goes down. I mean, I don't mean to diminish what you do, but that's what the kit does. And so how many times can you look at that or shoot that? And he shot it from every single angle that you could possibly imagine. I mean, he shot it from this angle, and he would zoom in on the pulleys and the mechanics, and then zoom back, and then he would do it from this, and just 40 minutes. I promise. And I watched every minute of it because it was his passion coming through. I mean, this man loved this industry. I had a chance to go to the Tenement Museum in New York City some time ago. It's down in southern part of Manhattan, and it's a preserved tenement building back at the turn of the last century, the way people used to live, and 3 stories high, maybe 4, I don't remember, but they were huddled together, right? Cities were overcrowded, unbelievably messy and dirty, and there was just no room for the amount of people that were in cities. And to see the way people lived was unbelievable. And I thought, again, through the eyes of my father, elevators changed all that, didn't they? Elevators allowed us to build our cities up instead of out. Elevators took away that overcrowding. We went vertically. That's unbelievable. I don't know if you guys even appreciate how special that is to the world. Every bit as important as the automobile or the internet. Look at our cities. It's incredible. These are my rainbows and these are my ladybugs, and I promise you, I'll never see elevators the same way again. But there's something even more, and I think it's appropriate for this summit because Dad wasn't just passionate about elevators. He was passionate about elevator safety. And it's really a natural correlation because, at least according to Wikipedia, right, elevators have been around long before they were used for people. And I think what Otis did back in the day was he invented what, at least they called on Wikipedia, the safety elevator, right? So it wasn't just about elevators, it was about making elevators safe. So if they failed, nobody would die. That's what caused them to be used for people, as far as I could see. That's what caused the cities to grow up instead of out. It's about safety. And it's amazing how much I took that for granted as well. I mean, I can go into this box and press a button and shoot into the sky in a matter of seconds and get to the other side without dying. And as if it's not enough to be transported 50 flights in a matter of seconds, if I'm about to miss that elevator, I jump in it just as the doors are closing, never even thinking about the fact that my body could be severed, right? And by the way, I don't do that anymore because Bob Shepard said, don't do that anymore. And so I'm not doing that anymore. But I should know better, right? Because my dad was an elevator guy. But I took it for granted. Why did I take it for granted? Because you made it safe. You knew that me, stupid people like me, were going to do that. And you safeguarded against it. I don't want to leave escalators out because escalators are kind of cool too, right? There's escalator people in the room also, yeah? And my dad loved escalators too. Maybe not quite as much as elevators, but he loved escalators. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that too, right? I mean, these are dangerous devices. They allow us to go from point A to point B with little effort. They allow some people that couldn't have gotten there any other way to go from point A to point B, and you allow that to happen safely. And now I appreciate that. I look at those brushes on the side of escalators that, and I know I should have known better, but I promise you I thought were there to polish your shoes. And they do a fine job, by the way. But I know they're not there for that, right? I know, you guys are all cringing saying, oh God. But I know what they're there for, right? They're to keep me safe so I don't drop things in there. My laces don't get caught and other things. And I take all those things for granted, or at least I did. But through my dad's eyes, and sometimes it takes someone passing, all of a sudden, I see things differently. And that's a special gift. So, as you go through this conference, whether it's for 3 hours, 3 days, 3 lifetimes, don't take those things for granted. You do special work. He knew that. I know it now too. You do incredibly special work. It's not just a job, right? It's not just to check the box and get a paycheck. You're building cities. You're allowing cities to grow up instead of out. You're keeping people safe when they're doing that. And I know there's work to be done. That's why you're here. That's why you continue to do this work, is because you need to continue to keep people safe and keep safety at the forefront. But don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. It shouldn't take someone passing for you to see the rainbows or the ladybugs or the splendor in these things we call elevators. So thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for providing my dad with so much friendship and love and respect. And I know how he felt about everyone in this room and this industry in general. and I know he'd be so happy to have his son here representing him one last time. And it really is special. So enjoy the conference, and thank you for having me. Thank you.